I think I'm being alive.
Writing a branching narrative is a really interesting exercise. We write like a full, like a movie screenplay, 100-page screenplay. We have all of our characters in there, we can develop our character styles, and once we've got that, then we can start looking at how we break that out into a full 10-hour experience. Actors are used to, on a feature film, a 100-page script. The script for this is over 1,000 pages, so they get very alarmed. We have to shoot, and this is again very shocking for them, about 50 pages a day, which is unheard of. It's just that's a mad amount of footage. But obviously a lot of what they're learning is the same thing again and again and again, but a different branch. They act out one scene and then I could say, okay, now we're going to go all the way back to here and we're going to do it again, but this time you get an axe in your head. No! When it comes to branching's really a mathematical nightmare. It's just exponential. As soon as you branch, if that's two completely different routes, you branch again and two more and two more. By the time you're 20 choices in, you're in ridiculous amounts of data and stuff. So we have to look at how we make genuinely branching game without making it so ridiculously huge that it's unplayable or even unmakeable. So we break down the story to the characters that you play. In the Quarry, there are 9 different characters that you play, and each one of those characters has their own story through that, because you'll be making choices for them, and the choices that you make will be, changing what they do. Big choices that they might end up dead, smaller choices where you might affect a relationship quite significantly, and obviously those have to intertwine. Those stories, as you kind of branch through, go wide and then they start to come back in again. And it's kind of like the story itself is the variation, not always just the end point. We worked out 186 different endings for those characters, not just alive or dead, a whole variation of things that can happen to them. But the stories that they have on the way through are massively varied. The big choices we have are these things called paths chosen. And those paths chosen will significantly affect the story, and we'll announce it to you. You never know when that's going to come up, you're never kind of warned about it, and it might seem trivial, but it's a big, big deal. The smaller choices that affect the story that you're actually playing, like relationships and stuff, we really like the idea of giving you context. So you can have the exact same conversation, but know that that person has just killed someone, and the context changes everything. So we announce just a little bit on the side just to say, every time you do something, how that's affected the other person that you're talking to, or how that choice has affected a very small part of what's going on. And as soon as you know that, everything else just is tilted slightly. I think the biggest thing that affects those really big choices are how much they affect the other characters. If you've got these 9 kind of stories all leading into each other, it's relatively straightforward to truncate one of those stories by killing somebody or having them get killed or whatever it is. That's not hard to do, and it's like I say, it's quite straightforward because it's a binary thing at the end. They're alive or they're dead. Where it affects somebody else massively, that's when it all starts to turn into a bit of a house of cards. The other thing that we do in order to try and make these things manageable, it's a horror, so obviously what we do is split everybody up. That's that's rule 1 of horror. The good thing about doing that is if you split everybody up, if we do something that's majorly effective to 1 or 2 of those characters early on, we can keep it with them. It doesn't necessarily have to kind of go and affect everybody else. There's a cadence you want with this sort of stuff. There's a kind of a fairly intense start. Then there's a get to know you section, which is really important for us because we need to have some degree of, not necessarily empathy with the characters, but certainly knowledge of the characters and what you think about them, and also how you grow them. So they start off kind of like blank pages, and you can make them, nicer or nastier, or however you decide to make those conversations go. But once we start getting the deaths kicking off, and we're not going to throw a grenade and kill everybody in one go, because it's, that's a dull story. With a horror like this, my personal favorite sort of way through it is a fair few people die, and a fair few people die quite horribly. But you can also play it right through, and you can have everyone live. It depends on what you want to watch, really, or what I want to play.
For more on The Quarry, why not check out our hands-on preview or a deconstruction of how a single scene is made? And for everything else, stick with IGN.